Amy Goodman, journalist from Democracy Now! So charges were brought up against Amy Goodman on September 8th. This was 5 days after she reported on the North Dakota Access Pipeline, not just reporting on the protests, but reporting on the private contractors, mercenaries that were sent out and sicked, for lack of a better word, on the protesters. It was because of her reporting that images like this, and I want to bring it up on your screen. These are images we'll never forget. Images of the attack dogs that were unleashed on the protesters, and you could see the blood. You can see this is from Democracy Now! The blood dripping from the mouth and the nose of this attack dog. This attack dog attacked someone, bit them in the face, bit another person, and you can see, I mean, just these are the images that came from, that got national coverage because of Democracy Now! And Amy Goodman. 5 days after this coverage, well, actually, let me finish that last thought. Prior to this, there was no significant national coverage. Democracy Now! Brought national coverage, national attention, and because of the national attention that Democracy Now! Brought, all the other major media outlets started covering it. 5 days after that coverage, Amy Goodman was charged with criminal trespassing. The state's attorney, well, she went to turn herself in over the weekend. Now, first of all, I want to quote her because she said it best. By filing the charges in the first place, the state's attorney was attempting to stop journalism. And that's absolutely what was going on. So, you know, she was there in an official media capacity, and yet she was charged with criminal trespassing. She went to turn herself in for criminal trespassing. Turns out that the state's attorney, Ladd Erickson, did not have enough evidence to charge her with criminal trespassing, so he changed the charge to being charging Amy Goodman with inciting riots. Okay? I'm hesitating because of how glaringly ridiculous this is. It is a victory today because all charges have been dropped. The judge in the case refused to accept the charges, and Amy Goodman her name has been cleared. And you know, she's been vindicated. And if I know Amy, and I don't know her personally, but I know her work very well. If I know Amy at all, I know that the inconvenience that she was put through, and the vindication, obviously, but the inconvenience that she was put through, she would deem it worthwhile because of the narrative that comes out of this. Because I feel like she would see this the reason I put it like that, and actually I put the cart before the horse. She was charged, had to go back, had to face, she probably had to get her lawyers, all sorts of things, all sorts of inconveniences, financial and otherwise, professional, familial, all sorts of inconveniences because they wanted to stop, North Dakota wanted to stop journalism. And not even stop journalism. In my mind, this was a reciprocity. This was them just getting back at her, because they couldn't stop what had already gone out. But what they tried to do was to intimidate not only Democracy Now!, but anyone else who would come and report on what's happening there, the protests that are still going on. And so to me, it wasn't so much about them trying to stop her immediate journalism. They were trying to stop any subsequent journalism, and they were trying to simply be vindictive and get back at her because it was her platform that actually elevated the conversation to a national to the national stage. And because of that vindictiveness and that pettiness, her entire life was inconvenienced. Now, back to the point I was making. I believe that if anybody would be grateful for, or at least thankful for, being the person who had to carry that burden and was able to carry it victoriously, it would be Amy Goodman, because of her type of reporting, her commitment to journalism, her journalistic integrity. I feel like she probably sees this as a worthwhile inconvenience, because she gets to stand and tell everybody that this is what they try to do. This is what they will try to do. This is how they want to stop your journalism. This is how we were victorious, and hopefully no one else has to go through this. And I think if anybody was the right person to carry that message, it would be Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! So congratulations to you guys, your entire team over there, for fabulous reporting, 2, for being triumphant, but 3, for being I don't have any other language, but this is kind of religious language, so forgive me, but being that vessel that helps carry this message that journalism is only as free as we fight for it to be free. Now, shame on all of the major media outlets that did not cover this. Shame on you, because this is your industry. And I get it that a lot of people in the mainstream media, they would never go out there to cover that type of event because it's beneath them. Getting a latte is a little too difficult out in those remote places, right? I get it. They're not going to be, but eventually this will intersect with your life, right? It will definitely intersect with your life, in that if you don't stop an injustice there, then the injustice will find you wherever you are. An injustice, Dr. King, anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So shame on all of the major media outlets that did not cover this step by step, update by update. This should have been, and I know the oxygen in the room is getting sucked up by Trump and Clinton, but just as a measure of your commitment to your own industry, somewhere in some headline on some nightly news, it should have been covered that a journalist was arrested and charged for journalism.